Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Players Take Reflections number 6. I'm your host, Justin D. Simone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody?
And we're joined by a special guest this week. Her name is Tiara Marshall. How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
So this is going to be a Reflections episode. It was a really light news week this week, so we're going to be doing a singular topic. But let me start with the rigmarole. For those of you who haven't listened before, Players Take is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. We also post on YouTube's at 6 a.m. Central Time on Saturdays. If you want to check out some gameplay footage of myself and Montrell playing games underneath the show's audio. So we're going to jump right in. Let's start with what we've been playing this week. Montrell, do you want to get started?
Yeah, I haven't been playing too much this week. I played maybe a couple hours of Xenoblade Chronicles
Great.
Definitive Edition. And
this is a video game show, Montrell. You need to come prepared.
Hey. And I've been, unfortunately, been playing a little bit of League of Legends, killing myself slowly with that game. So,
why do you subject yourself to it, man? Every week you come to the show and you say, man, I've been playing League, and you have a negative, you're so negative about it.
You know, it's a drug. I think I need an intervention.
It is.
I think somebody needs somebody to sit down with me and just uninstall the game when I come home and it's just not installed on my computer. I think I'm gonna do that.
I gotta lock your Riot account, man, or something. Take control of it, change the password. All right. Well, Tiara, what have you been playing? Have you been playing anything?
Yes, so I've been on my Switch very heavily. I've really been focused a lot on Pokemon Sword.
Okay.
I have Animal Crossing, but I'm actually kind of lost in Animal Crossing, so I put that to the side for a second.
I don't get that game, but yeah.
And I'm really, like I said, I'm really into Pokemon Sword. Like, this game is like mind blowing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like coming from like the handheld game.
Yeah.
Like that shit is in 3D. I like it.
So how you like to compare it to like the older ones?
I love it.
You love it? All right.
Yes. I think it's super cool how like you can see the weather changes. You can see the Pokemon in the grass, so you can avoid them. Like,
yeah, they're not random
like
battles
always,
anymore.
like yeah, that was super irritating in Pokemon. Like,
I hated it.
Like, I really hated it. But to actually see the Pokemon, to actually see what it is and say, oh, I've already caught that, I'm not gonna go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Even the what is it called? The Dynamax, whatever.
Dynamax. Yeah.
Right. Even that is kind of cool because it's like Pokemon Go integrated into Pokemon Sword. I don't know if that was their intention or not, but that was like really cool.
All right. So the raid battles were in Pokemon Go. I didn't get that far in Pokemon Go. So.
Oh yeah, I did. I was like obsessed with Pokemon Go for a while.
Okay.
And then it just got boring to me out of nowhere. And then I deleted. I deleted it, the app off my phone, and never looked back. But I did remember that when I was playing it, so I thought that was kind of cool. I'm trying to get through Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes like playing a console game is too much. Like, it's too much concentration. Whereas laying back with my Switch is kind of chill. So like when I'm thinking about what I'm going to play, like if it's my PlayStation or my Xbox or my Switch, that's how I normally gravitate towards my Switch, because anything else is doing too much.
I feel you on that. There is kind of degrees of this though, because I play PC a lot. So PC's like the you're sitting up at your desk, like you're straight up and you're like really attentive, you know, like highly focused. That's like the most stressful form of gaming you can have, in my opinion. And then console is like a step down from that. And then, like you said, the Switch is kind of another step down from that. And it's like, yeah, I know what you mean sometimes. Sometimes you're just like, I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to be focused, you know? Like
this Switch is amazing. Like, what I do is I lay on my couch. I take my Joy-Cons off. I stick the Switch screen in between the cushions of the couch so it can stand up right and I can lay down and play it. Like, the Joy-Con detachment is it's game changing. I can't do that with the Xbox or PS4 controller because it's together. I have to hold it with two hands.
Right.
But the Joy-Cons, my hands could be separate.
It's like free. You can kind of throw them wherever you want, you know,
I could be
over your
super
head.
lazy.
Right. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I've been playing basically just Xenoblade Chronicles. I am obsessed with the game still, and I am.
How much is it?
It's a full $60 game, but it is a very, very long game. I am 80 hours in at this point.
Jesus Christ!
And I'd say I'm maybe 70 to 75% of the way through it. But I'm doing everything though, dude. Like I'm doing everything. Like I've pretty much done every side quest. So I'm a crazy person. However, Tiara, you were saying before the show that you like story-driven games. I don't know if you like JRPGs, but Xenoblade Chronicles is a fantastic story-driven RPG. So,
I like RPGs. I like
highly recommended from me. But I'm a fanboy, so take that with a grain of salt.
But now that you said it was an RPG, okay, that makes me like more inclined to buy it for $60. Like, I get the fact, I get the feeling that the Outer Worlds is like an RPG like game, so open world.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's what made me spend $60 on that. So,
have you played like any of the Persona games?
Of that.
You can Persona 5 was on the Xbox, or not the Xbox. Wow, the PS5,
PlayStation 4,
PS4. And I think it's on sale now. You can get the regular version for like $20, or you can get the Royal version for like $50, maybe $60.
It's $40 on Amazon at the moment.
Really?
But that goes up and down depending on the day. So I've been thinking about buying it for like, I don't know, 4 weeks now. And
don't do it because it's going to sit in your backlog.
That's why I haven't done it. I know myself. I mean, like I said, I am obsessed with Xenoblade Chronicles, so it's on with that game at the moment. Everything else is unimportant. All right, Tiara, you playing anything else that you want to mention?
Tetris 99. Oh, can we talk about Tetris 99 for like 2 seconds?
Sure.
Let me tell you. Okay. I don't even know how I was just in the e-store or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, Tetris is free," you know. And I thought, one of those games that, just mindless games. Everybody likes Tetris.
Nope.
Yeah. Right.
I played it.
But
yeah. No. It's not
Tetris
that.
99 is the battle royale version of Tetris. It's so hard. It is so hard, and that's what makes it so fun. Like it's literally you and 98 other people. You have to attack them with the box. They attack you.
When you get a Tetris, it goes to someone else's box. It's so messed up.
And then if multiple people are attacking you at once, like that's it.
You're done. Yeah, you probably don't stand a chance.
Yes, Tetris 99 though. I love this game.
Yeah,
they made a battle royale game out of Tetris. That's funny.
It's still free, right?
I think it's still free. Still free. You should definitely download it. But yes, who would have thought a battle royale version of Tetris? Like, who thinks of these things? Tetris
is the most pure video game out there. It probably could be made into a lot of genres we haven't thought about, and it would work. It's actually a weirdly flexible game. Like it's I don't know. There's been so many different versions of Tetris over the years that I've seen, and everybody loves every one of them. Like, I've never seen one that's bad, it's just, it is. It's weird. So, yeah. Okay. Like I said, we're going to be doing a topic this week, just a singular topic talking about, we're going to be talking about the myth that the single-player games are dead.
Yes. Yes.
That gaming is about multiplayer now. And, as of a few years ago, EA would have told you that. Actually, they did tell us that. That's a literal quote, from their CEO. And I'm going to let you guys get started here. There's a lot to say on this topic, but I think we're all pretty heavy single-player gamers on this show at the moment.
Yes.
So what do you guys think about that statement?
I don't know. I think at the time they made that statement, it probably was true. Nah, I don't want to say it was true.
It wasn't true.
It's funny though.
It's never been true.
It's never. It's funny though, because I think a year or two after that statement, you got Jedi Fallen Order, and that game.
It was literally a year later.
A year later, okay. So yeah, so it sold 10 million copies so far.
It's one of the best-selling games of last year.
Yeah, like it's crazy, and it's still on the top 10 list of a lot of lists that, like, every time we check, it's still there. Right. So I mean, I think that game surprised them, but the only problem with EA, which I don't want to get into, but we all know what they're going to do. They're going to squeeze the shit out of that game. Like, squeeze every nickel and dime out of it. They're going to turn it into fucking Dead Space, and then it's going to be a multiplayer version of Jedi Fallen Order again, and then it's going to die. Because that's what they did with that. Like, EA had some really good single-player games, and Dead Space was one of them. And they gutted that studio, and now we don't have any more Dead Spaces.
Okay. I'd agree with you if it wasn't Respawn making the games. I think Respawn has enough autonomy that they'll be able to do what they want.
Yeah.
Who makes Left 4 Dead?
Valve. But weren't they under the studio though? Wasn't it another studio?
Oh my god, what's the name of the studio? Is it Turtle
Shell?
Is it Turtle Beach?
Turtle Beach. No,
Turtle Beach? Turtle Beach makes
no.
peripherals.
Yeah, that's not Turtle Beach.
Turtle something. I can't remember the name of this studio. Let me look it up. Keep going while I do this.
Yeah, so Left 4 Dead is a good example. That's a single player game, but you also play co-op with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then that same studio went all the way multiplayer with Evolve and completely killed themselves with that game because that game
Rock
was shit.
Studios.
Turtle Rock. Yeah, and that game was complete ass. Like,
yo, Evolve. Let me tell you, when that game came out, it wasn't even that long because that game was always on sale. That game was even free at one point in time. But when that game came out, my ex, we was living together. He had bought that game for like the full price, like $60. And then like a couple months later, I feel like it was free. Or it was really cheap.
It was. That game.
And he was sick.
That game was one of the most egregious like cash grab games though that I've ever seen. Like it had hundreds of dollars of DLC the day the game came out, and it was for like different colors of guns. Like it was horrible.
But this is why I like talking to y'all because I never knew that the same studio or developer made both games. But now that I'm thinking about it, like it makes sense. Like
they wanted to take the bitches
and stuff. Like it makes sense. But Left 4 Dead was super cool. I really liked it. It was kind of hard too, which made it even better. But
well, not only single player games, but the couch co-op games are dying. I think Switch is bringing those back, but they are dying.
But I would say for the myth, when people say multiplayer, they're not even talking about PvE, like co-op stuff. They're talking about like PvP. Like that's the new future. Like people only buy it for like PvP because, that's not true either. Sometimes I do want to just, do stuff co-op. I don't always want to go against somebody. I can go against. I can do PvE sometimes. So it's just like that myth that it's all about the PvP. It's really not. Clearly.
I think this. I mean, I think it's a myth that is perpetuated by publishers because it's in their interest to push multiplayer games because those are the games that truly break the bank for consumers. Those are the games that make money. Those are the ones you can monetize, that you can really...
Yeah, because of the microtransactions.
Right, because of microtransactions, season passes, seasons, all this stuff. It's much more doable with a multiplayer game. You can't really do it with single player. It's hard to pull off. Games have tried it, and most of them have failed. But
the thing about it is, like, when you have a really good single player game, people are willing to buy it over. Unfortunately, that is me. Like, I've had games that have been free on my Xbox that I've repurchased on my PlayStation. Vice versa, just because I want to play it over. Like, I think I bought The Witcher The Witcher 3. I think I bought that on every.
You're a mad woman. You're a mad woman.
Except the Switch. The Witcher 3 is my favorite game of all time. Like
you adjusted.
What?
That is my favorite game.
It's not my favorite game of all time. It's really.
I thought you said that was like one of your favorite games.
I mean, it is, but look, putting that title of favorite game of all time on me on that is like,
All right.
You can put it on me. My favorite game of all time.
Look, that's high praise, man. That's high praise. Okay, that's a little bit too much for me. I think The Witcher 3 is a phenomenal game. It has some issues though. It's not like 100% perfect. At least for me, it's not.
But I mean, Witcher 3 is a prime example of a single player game. Like Tiara was saying, that
Yep.
exceeded expectations. I mean, well, I guess it didn't exceed expectations because people kind of expected it to sell really well.
I think it exceeded expectations. I look, The Witcher before The Witcher 3 was like a niche PC franchise that like nobody
It
knew.
was.
And
It
yeah,
was.
The Witcher 3
true.
made The Witcher thing. Like,
Yeah, okay.
That's real.
yeah.
It's real
So,
because I would like to say that I thought so when I first had The Witcher 3, I played it. I was like, I never heard of this series before. But then I was going back to my PC games and I had actually bought The Witcher.
of course you did.
Played it.
They sell it for like $2 every single time.
Yeah,
there's a Steam sale.
you're right. So I was just like, I had actually bought it like years ago and I had just never played it.
Yeah.
But graphic wise, like I just so for all intents and purposes, I've only ever played The Witcher 3 and I just read about the other two games. But I tried to go back and play The Witcher 2, which was also highly praised.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And then to even boot up The Witcher, the first one, like couldn't do it.
Man.
Like so for all intents and purposes, it's all about The Witcher 3. Like I mean graphics own.
But single player games like The Witcher 3 is a great example of the kind of steps that franchise has taken in terms of quality. Like you're saying, like the first game was made in a very specific time, but the jump from that game to 2 was mind blowing, and then the jump from 2 to 3 is even more mind blowing. Like it's where we've come in there was 8 years between the first game and the third game releasing. Like that is not a long time in video games.
That is not a long time.
And the fact that kind of jump happened in 8 years is absolutely crazy to me. And but that's why single player games aren't dead. Like what they're capable of is nuts. Like what developers can do with these games now is like I think the next generation is going to really push this over the top in a way that I think people aren't ready for.
I think publishers push that is because the cost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm imagining it took a huge cost to make The Witcher, but I mean, it paid off in the end. Whereas you make a game like Fortnite, right? You don't have to put that much effort. I mean, Fortnite's a good game. Don't get me wrong. For anybody listening,
yeah,
I don't really play it, but I admire what it is for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you put a game like Fortnite out, right, and you can make your money back in probably a month. Not even that. Yeah. Depending on how popular the game is. Call of Duty, it's a guaranteed 500 million. Like that's not a big, investment. Whereas, say like if you want to make another Mass Effect game, then you're taking a risk because the last Mass Effect game didn't do too well. And then let's say green lighting Andromeda, right? I imagine that the green light that game, it was kind of hard just because of the.
Oh, I loved Andromeda. But we ain't gonna talk about that.
And I love the combat in Andromeda. The story, but the combat was like really good. But you take Mass Effect 3, right? That had a bad reputation of having a bad ending. The game was good. To me, the story all the way up until the end was like phenomenal. And then the reputation that you have there from EA, right? And everyone's like, oh man, I don't know if we want to take a risk on another Mass Effect game because
they bullied them into making a new ending.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's just wild to me when that game they just gave up on that game. But if it was a multiplayer game, they wouldn't have gave up on it so easily. They would have tried to fix it.
Well,
I mean, look at Anthem.
Anthem, right? Yeah, Anthem's a perfect example. They're not giving up on that game despite the fact that it was it was horrible. Like it was a really bad video game, and they spent so long making it. And I'm sure they took a huge
I never
hit on
played
that.
Anthem,
but
I was gonna buy it.
It's I wouldn't buy it now.
I wouldn't. Don't. Yeah.
But when me and Justin played it, we loved it for the idea that was coming out of it. Like it was almost like a Diablo-esque type game, but like with an Iron Man suit and Mass Effect, like qualities and stuff like that.
A third-person shooter,
Yeah.
But it just could not deliver on that promise in any conceivable way, unfortunately. So that's the thing is like that's why multiplayer is not inherently gonna make you money. Like you have to make a good game, and I think that's something that EA for a period of time just didn't subscribe to that idea because they are the ones who perpetuate the bad multiplayer practices, right? They have FIFA, they have Madden.
I was just about to mention those.
Yeah, they have these games that print money in microtransactions every year. But so, of course, they're the ones who think single player is dead. But when you look at the rest of the industry, it's not even remotely true, right? Like you've got like all these Sony studios making single player games. You've got even BioWare making single player games, even if they're not as great as they once were. But you got like CD Projekt, Respawn now is making them. You know, it's like they're all over the place. There's tons of.
You know what? Let's go back to CD Projekt Red because I just bought the Thronebreaker, the new Witcher spinoff game. I just bought it for my Switch, and it's actually like really good. It's a Gwent game, but it's actually really, really good.
Yep.
I like Gwent as a card game. I don't see the.
I bust ass in Gwent in The Witcher 3. I bust ass in Gwent, like because the Gwent game that's separate from that is like they changed the rules up, so it's not the same. But in the actual Witcher
well, they made it like a balanced card game. The one in The Witcher 3 is broken as hell. Like,
so I was ass in The Witcher. Everybody I came across, I got that trophy and everything.
But see, I wanted to mention like Madden, right? I think Madden, if EA put the effort into it, that can be the perfect.
They can make more money than they do.
Yeah, it can be the perfect game, right? Because a lot of people want to play it single player. Like I want to play franchise mode. I want to play creative player. I want to do all this stuff single player. I don't really care about like when I buy 2K, I don't want to play 2K online. But 2K is even going in that direction where you have to buy microtransactions because everybody wants to take their my player onto the my park and play it against other players. Whereas with me, I just love the story-driven part of 2K. And I think Madden can do that as well and have a franchise mode as well on Madden. But they won't put money into that single player. They can get a lot more people like us to come back to Madden, and they can still have their little crappy online, what's it called? That's not Dynasty mode, but Madden cards or whatever the fuck it's called.
Madden Ultimate Team.
Madden Ultimate Team. So they can still have that and make buku money off that. But the single player mode, I would love. I would just love to have a creative player. If they brought NCAA back, bring my creative player from the college scene all the way back to the NFL and just have a little storyline behind that. And I don't think that's hard, and it wouldn't be a bad investment because they're making all this money. They make $800 million a year just off the microtransactions alone from the Ultimate Team. Yeah. So I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think EA's problem, and I think they've learned a lot with Respawn, actually. I think Respawn has actually had a really good influence on EA the past couple of years because I think they've learned that there is value to having a game like Jedi Fallen Order that isn't necessarily making as much money for you as Madden, but not every game can be Madden, And I think they have to accept that and also understand that these games are prestige games at the same time, right? A game like Jedi Fallen Order increases your reputation amongst the game industry, Like think about Sony versus Microsoft, right? Their first party. Like Sony is viewed the way they are because they have a bunch of these prestige single-player games that are extremely good, versus Xbox that doesn't have any of these. They have Halo and they have Gears, but Gears isn't even really as good as it used to be. It's like really just Halo, and even Halo's had issues, So it's like that matters a lot, and I think it matters even for third-party publishers like EA or Activision or whoever,
I will say, to your point, the exclusives are definitely just not there with Xbox. Like for me, you'll find I'm like the most neutral person. Like I can afford all systems,
right?
So
me too.
I pay them, so I pay them all, but. I guess if I had to pick one to say what type of gamer I really was, it would be Xbox. Like most of my friends are on Xbox and things of that nature. So I'm definitely like team Xbox. But the reason why I got a PlayStation was for a single player game. I don't feel like there's any game. If I was a PlayStation gamer, there's nothing on Xbox that would make me want to buy an Xbox. But when Detroit become human, when I saw that on E3, I'm like, man, I just have to have that game. Like, I literally am going to spend $400 on a console just for that game. I literally did not buy one. I was like, I'm only going to buy it when this game comes out.
Yeah. And that's funny because that game is not an important game to Sony in the sense of like compared to like The Last of Us or Uncharted or God of War, or Horizon. Like, it's definitely in their B tier, but see, that's the thing. That game is probably better than most of the stuff that Xbox has as exclusives. Like,
it is.
I mean,
grew up and I bought an Xbox. Well, I didn't buy it. My mom bought me an Xbox 360. And I played Gears 2, and to me that was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But to go to your point, Gears is not as good as like it used to be. Like Gears 3 was amazing, like 11 out of 10.
I agree with you.
Like Gears 4, I just did not care about the squad in Gears 4. But no, you have to have some type of personal connection. That's why I like The Witcher 3 the way I like it, is because it's how it made me feel emotionally. Like I felt super happy. I thought everything was funny. Like the way the emotions the game made me feel had me have a personal attachment to that game. But when you're playing these games, you have to have some type of attachment to the characters. And it's just everybody loved the original squad in Gears. That's just what it was. Like they all had they all brought something different to the table. But with Gears 4, I care nothing for JD. I can't even remember the other two names. Like that's so crazy.
I was about to say like who else is there, because I forgot.
The girl and then a black guy. Like who are they? Like that's what I'm saying. So I don't even care about them.
But see, you hit the nail on the head with Xbox, right? Like their most popular franchises. I think like you said, like both of y'all said, Justin said the publishers, and then you said it for the first party for Xbox. A lot of people fell in love with Xbox not because of the first party titles, not because of the multiplayer. It did bring a lot of stuff to the multiplayer scene, like Halo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you talk to anybody, right, about Halo, they'll be like, "What's your favorite part of Halo?" Oh man, Halo 3, the ending part, we were running on the Warhog and everything's exploding. That's a single player aspect of the game. It's a story-driven part of the game. A lot of people may say, like, I remember the times me and my friends were playing Halo online, which, I mean, I would say that too. But, like, I can remember so many memorable moments from, like, Halo 1. Halo, like, when you first encountered the Flood, like, that's fucking mind-blowing.
I was just about to bring that up. Oh, my God. What a moment that is. Like, that game looks like ass on the original Xbox. But think about that. Like, go back in time and think about that moment the first time it happened. You're like, what the hell are these things? They're horrifying. Like, you know, and
I mean, but then to go back to that point about, things that are like, moments that you remember forever. Like in Gears 2, when they found Maria. Like,
oh my God. I cried on that part.
The dichotomy.
Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Like the dichotomy between, her when she first steps out and she looks normal, and you think, wow, this is about to be a happy ending. Damn, we don't found Dawn's wife. She must have just got here. And then the screen switches and it's her looking like a Holocaust victim. That was crazy.
Well, and then the murderous rampage they go on directly after that moment. Like,
exactly.
What great like cinematic choice that was to show that dichotomy and the juxtaposition between the two. Like they could have just showed her the way she was as soon as he opened it,
Yeah.
But to show her like normal at first, so that you as the gamer feel like, oh man, we did something to just rip our hopes and dreams away by showing how she really was. Yeah. Like that's real like stuff.
Yeah, and I'm gonna bring up Xenoblade Chronicles.
Oh God, here we go.
I'm gonna bring up Xenoblade Chronicles because I mean it's so relevant to this conversation though. Like that game, the reason I love it so much is it has so many of those moments that we're talking about. Like moments that just stick out where like something really powerful happens to the characters and you feel for them, you really like feel their rage or their sadness or what have you, and it happens like multiple times in the game. It's crazy. Like most games, storylines have like one or two of those, whereas like I feel like Xenoblade Chronicles is just pockmarked throughout the entire game, so I think these things are I think single player has so much power in gaming that I think a lot of gamers just don't care about, don't talk about. They're all about gameplay. And you can play games for whatever reason you want, but I just think there's so much value in the medium because we are the ones controlling what's happening most of the time on the screen. So when you make us do something that is emotionally resonant, like it has a different feeling than watching it in like a television show or a movie or reading a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think one aspect that all of us here need to remember too is because Tiara, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 28.
28. Okay, so you're in the same age group as us. I'm 30. I'm 31, and Justin's 30. So, like for us, we grew up when it was kind of during that transition, right? It was single player, and then they slowly transitioned to multiplayer. But now you have kids who are like 15, 16, even younger, who know nothing of that. Like all they know is Fortnite. All they know is Call of Duty.
Right.
And they don't know what a good single player game is. Like I've seen a lot of that. I've seen kids just go into like GameStop or Walmart or whatever the case may be, and they'll just buy straight multiplayer games. They don't care nothing about single player games. Or when when my little cousin comes over to my house or whatever, they ask me what I'm playing, I'm like, oh, I'm playing, Persona, or I'm playing Final Fantasy 7 or something like that. And they're like, wow, this looks really cool. Is it multiplayer? Like that's the first thing they ask. And I'm like, nah, it's a single player game. And they're just mind blown that this is a single player game looking this cool and you doing all this flashy stuff on it and everything of that nature. So I think as far as EA's comment about single player becoming the future or dying, I think it is resonating with a younger generation of gamers. And that to me is scary because, I mean, we are older gamers. I mean, let's face it, we are. Like, we're in the gaming world, we're old as fuck.
You're coming at us right now, man. I don't like it.
I'm just being realistic about the situation. I think it's one thing that a lot of people tend to forget, that the younger generation didn't really grow up with too many single player games. Besides like maybe a Mario game here and there or whatever. But besides that, a lot of younger gamers first encounter with Mario is through Mario Kart, and that's a multiplayer game. So it's like, how are you supposed to instill single player values in the younger generation when all they know is multiplayer?
Can I say, like, I feel like I am so grateful for growing up, like, in the exact era that I did. Because, to your point, we're, like, in the middle. We're, like,
we are perfect
to, like, remember stuff that is important. Like, having a Game Boy, the regular Game Boy, the gray one with the green screen. Like,
fat
having
one.
a Game Boy to still being, like, young enough to be relevant for whatever's happening now. Like, we can see the change, like our whole gaming, life.
I think our like the group of years that we were born in is like the perfect time to grow up in the modern era, because we know what it was like to not have the internet, and
right,
exactly. Like kids born directly after us don't really have that mindset,
right.
And I think that's true in video games as well, because we were born right at the height of the NES, and we kind of grew up with like the SNES and the Genesis and PlayStation 1 and the N64, and I think that's a good period to grow up with gaming, because we got to see the evolution of games, like fully happen. And I think kids that are born after, like, I don't know, 1995 probably don't really have that. Their first games were like PS2, GameCube, and like a generation where.
Yeah, I'm saying those are barely multiplayer games,
right?
But they still had an aspect to them where they were multiplayer,
right? Well, think about it. That's when Call of Duty like kind of started. Medal of Honor, those Halo, even Halo's multiplayer.
Yep.
Centric.
I remember Medal of Honor.
Right.
Yeah, you used to play that game.
Yeah, and that was when Xbox Live became a thing. Was that generation? So if you grew up there, you kind of grew up at the beginning of the multiplayer era, and it's not even that long after that. Like, let's say you're born in 1996. 10 years later, the PlayStation 3 is out. The Xbox 360 has been out for a year already. Like, those were fully online consoles that kind of created the market we're in now, with multiplayer games. So
it's so many good single player games out there. I mean, I guess I can convey that to the audience. Like, there are so many good single player games, and they're not all JRPGs or anything. They're various games. They can be story driven games, like point and click story driven games, history dungeon games and stuff like that. And I mean, you just gotta go out there and find them. I can't give you a comprehensive list, but there are plenty of channels on YouTube where you just type in top 10 single player games, and they'll give you a whole bunch of single player games that are very highly rated.
What about even hack and slash games, like, or beat 'em up games like Dynasty Wars and stuff? Dynasty Wars still coming out at $60. Still coming out at $60.
That's a crime against humanity.
Like, I really want to play. I think we're on Dynasty War. I think it's 9 now. I really want to play it, but I'm not about to pay $60.
Don't do it. No. Don't do that. Don't do that.
And I love Dynasty War.
I used to love Dynasty Wars as well. I used to love all
I
those
promise you, if
games.
you could go look into any store, you will see it. It say $59.99.
I'm sure at GameStop it does.
But even like games like Pokemon, right? You would think
Yeah.
like, oh, well, kids grew up on Pokemon, but like if they grew up during the DS era, like it
It's
had
not
a
the same.
it had a multiplayer component to it. So it's like even now, like if a kid bought right now Sword and Shield, that's their first multiplayer game or their first Pokemon game rather. Like
Mhm.
they won't understand the struggle of like not going to the wild area to get a Pokemon or getting a
I'm
random
saying.
a wonder trade for somebody getting the Pokemon that you want. Like they don't understand that
Or
concept.
stocking up on retail so you can actually walk.
Exactly. Or like going to the playground with a cable, with a link cable, and like hoping somebody else got the same the Pokemon that you want because you gotta
Right.
connect your Game Boys with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
they don't understand that.
Or, being a ridiculous nerd like me and using my brother's Game Boy and his copy of the game to trade myself all the starters,
I used to do that too with my brother.
I just feel like gamers would never know. Now you can watch. Now everybody makes YouTube videos or whatever. But like even as a gamer, like going online, looking up cheat codes.
Oh, yeah.
Or looking up walkthroughs online, like people write
Well,
whole
Game Facts.
pages. Yeah, Game Facts.
Game
People write
Facts,
whole
yeah.
pages.
Yeah, I used to
It
love
still
Game Facts.
exists. It's
It
all
still
there,
exists.
but no
I
one
never
uses
used
it.
one.
No
Like
one uses it.
when I was replaying Final Fantasy X, I was doing Game Facts. Like, how do I get this? Like,
Right. Like I had to use a Game Facts walkthrough for Berwick Saga actually a few months ago because it's an old PS2 game that wasn't released in the United States. So the only walkthrough I could find online for it was literally one on Game Facts, and it was horrifically written. It was hard to understand, but it was like my only. It was like a blast from the past because it was like my only source of information on this game. And it was like, but it was like it's such a unique experience, I feel like, to the 90s because once YouTube became a thing, like in the mid 2000s, like that kind of died, It's like,
right.
we didn't need it
Well,
anymore,
You know what's
It's like newspapers now.
exactly. You know what's funny about single player games though? Like you mentioned a good point about how you can unlock stuff and cheat codes. Well, remember you used to unlock like outfits and things of that nature, like alternate outfits for your characters in single player games. Now I feel like with the birth of multiplayer, it kind of killed it because everything is like DLC now. If you want to get an alternate outfit, you have to buy it. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Because
just
that's all
can't.
Fortnite is. It's just buying cosmetics.
Right.
You're not
Which
buying
is
anything.
which is conditioning gamers to that.
Yeah, but remember in single player games, like that used to just be a thing. Like, oh, if you played 100 hours of this game or whatever, or did some kind of random task, you got an outfit to unlock. And I remember just going over other people's houses and they had like a certain single player game or whatever. And I'm like, how did you get that outfit? Oh, I did this 20 times and I got it or whatever the case may be. And it's just like, there's none of that anymore. Like, for instance, right, Xenoblade Chronicles. Xenoblade Chronicles has that where they, you can unlock different outfits or whatever throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
But Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that's DLC. Like all that stuff is DLC if I want to get an alternate outfit for Rex or anybody of that nature.
Right. I forgot about that.
So it's like yeah, I mean it's just wild to me. I don't know. I did like single player on PC a lot too. Like for Fallout New Vegas, I just like to like download mods and stuff like that. But it seemed like Bethesda was trying that you can allow mods on PC, on the Xbox and PS4, I believe. But it's like, oh, you gotta pay for them. It's like that's not a mod, sir. That's a DLC. Like certain mods you gotta pay for, and that's like that's not mod. That's a DLC cosmetic.
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know. I get it with some things. Like there's acceptable DLC practices and then there's not acceptable DLC practices. It is a shame that like that kind of stuff, like costumes you're talking about and stuff like that, kind of got taken out of the game, and like turned into content basically. But it's not something that really matters to me personally. Those aren't things that I usually got much out of, but that influence from multiplayer games though is like it's so, I don't know. I wish it would stay in multiplayer, I guess is what I want to say, because it like single player games have a certain sanctity to me. Like Xenoblade Chronicles is a full experience, like full ass experience. There's no bullshit there. Like there's no there's extra content in the game on the cartridge. Like it's not DLC. Like it's part of the game. It's great. Like they gave us extra. It's like it didn't cost us more money to get it, even though it's an old game. Like they put enough effort into it to make it worth the money, and plus the game is good enough and long enough and has enough content that it's worth it. For the full price. But so yeah, I think games now it's just like a different environment. Sadly, I don't think single player will ever go away, but I hope
definitely trying to change the I guess the atmosphere around single player games, and that to me is scary because I don't want that. Like I want a full-fledged single player experience. Like if you want to add DLC to the story, then if add another 20, 30 hours to it, go by all means do that. Like that's good. But like, I don't know, adding cosmetics to it and things of that nature, like I don't like that at all. It's just not where it's at. Because they did that in Mass Effect. You can download cosmetics for different squad mates and stuff like that. And it was just like I didn't really like that.
Dude, that's that mentality I was talking about with EA, right? Where it's that need to have every game be a $800 million revenue game. That's unrealistic and hurts your game more than it's going to help. Like Madden can be that game, FIFA can be that game, Xenoblade Chronicles, it's not going to be that game. Like if you don't want to, if you want every game to be that, then don't make those kind of games, I guess. But you should be willing to take a hit, I guess, on a game like that in order to make your portfolio better, to like fill it out, even though like Jedi Fallen Order is kind of a bad example because that game sold like crazy good, to the point where it's like it is a high revenue game, but they shouldn't have the expectation. This is what killed Dead Space. They shouldn't have the expectation that it's going to be that game though,
Yeah.
Like they can't expect it to sell 10 million copies. Like that is a ridiculous, unreasonable expectation for a single player game. Particularly one like that's a new IP or an unknown or from an unknown studio. Something like Jedi Fallen Order has a leg up because it's Star Wars. But something like Dead Space doesn't have a leg up because it's Dead Space. It's not a known quantity necessarily.
Yeah.
So I think expectations matter in this sense too. This is why I think EA said those comments were said by EA that single player is dead, because they look at it from a revenues perspective, and single player games just are never going to make as much money as a multiplayer game, right? Like look at Grand Theft Auto, right? That game sells like crazy every week and it has ever since it came out, but it's because it's a multiplayer game now. It's not really because of the single player aspect, I would assume.
But like it's a good single player game. Like
right,
I played it for the single player aspect of it. And I'll even say like Red Dead Revolver 2, or not Red Dead Revolver, Red Dead Redemption 2 rather.
Mm-hmm.
I think people didn't buy that game for the multiplayer. People bought that for the single player. And that game's
definitely
so
for the
crazy.
single player.
Yeah. And that game's
because
so
I never
crazy.
even played Red Dead Redemption, but the way everybody talked about Red Dead Redemption, it just made it seem like I just had to buy this game. Like, and then I saw the graphics and I was like, okay, see, I don't even like westerns. I hate everything about. I only like two things in westerns. That western movie that Denzel Washington was in was like Magnificent Seven. That one, and then Red Dead Redemption 2. That's it. Right. Anything else western, don't like it. But the attachment to Arthur Morgan, like his character was so well written.
Yeah.
Like, even his story, like even they even took a chance on two protagonists for Red Dead Redemption, because it was at some point in time, Arthur dies or whatever, and then it switches to John, who was the protagonist in the first one. So even taking that gamble, paid off. I'm saying it's all about the single player. Okay.
Yeah. Rockstar's kind of a hard one. They're kind of an exception to the rule, I feel like.
Because they're Rockstar, people buy their games.
Yeah.
But they make really good single player games. Before people knew who Rockstar, I mean, we all know who Rockstar is, but they have a reputation of making good single player games. Right. No one
even Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I would say no one bought Grand Theft Auto because of the multiplayer.
I saw a
multiplayer.
Tweet. Sorry, you said what? Continue.
No, you can say it.
Okay. I saw a tweet recently saying that it was like a picture of the like 4 Grand Theft Auto games that came out within like 4 years of each other or 5 years with each other. It was like Vice City, San Andreas, 4, and then I think 3 all came out like within like I think 5 or 6 years, right, on the PS2 and PS3.
Yeah.
And then it's like they showed like 2008 to now, and it was just Grand Theft Auto 5, and it was like the reason that is because Grand Theft Auto 5 is a cash cow that never stops making money because of the Grand Theft Auto Online. Like,
oh yeah, they definitely designed it around the online component.
But that
I
sucks.
feel like it
sucks
does,
because you're not gonna get GTA 6 for a long time. You know,
Yeah.
like they've monetized the game to the point that it's like a live service game. You know, there's constantly new content getting added to that game.
That's why I wasn't against like live service games, because I thought it would fund smaller projects. But it seems like companies don't even like try to do that. Like, remember we had the whole episode about the mobile games and how a lot of companies were getting into it. But I think Fire Emblem was a good example of that. Like, the heroes obviously funded 3 houses, and that's why we have 3 houses, in my opinion. Because I just can't see like Nintendo greenlighting what they did with 3 houses, because that obviously cost a lot of money because of all the voice acting and everything of that nature.
Well, it's got 3 different paths, and I can't believe how big that game is.
Yeah, and that's a single player game with like a little multiplayer to it, but it's mainly single player. No one really plays the multiplayer like that. So it's like, I don't mind these games, like these huge multiplayer games, funding smaller projects, but I think they need to actually fund it. But PlayStation goes against all that shit because they have God of War,
right,
The Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, and there's plenty other Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank. Like, these games are,
it's
single player experiences, and people love them.
Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone, like the list goes on.
So I
Days
don't know.
Gone was actually really good.
I haven't played it. I heard it was good, but I'm like, I can just play The Last of Us.
No, I mean, I got the platinum trophy in Days Gone. So
wow.
Okay. Wow.
And it was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
I have a total of 3 platinum trophies, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I have none.
I think I have 12.
12? Y'all are some madmen.
I mean, look, okay. A few of them are Telltale games, so those don't really count. I have some good ones, though. I do have The Witcher. I have The Witcher 3 Platinum. I have the Nier Automata Platinum.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
See, I'm working on The Witcher 3. I'm working
that
on
one's hard. That one's very difficult.
I'm almost done.
Oh, not difficult.
I know.
It's not difficult.
It's
it's a time investment that requires a lot of patience. Towards the end, it gets really hard, like really difficult to concentrate on because it is so tedious. You have to do some really dumb shit for some of the trophies. But I have the Nier Automata one too. That one was pretty involved. But it's, I reserve that right for games that are truly special at this point.
I have Days Gone. See, anytime I start a game, I think to myself, if the game isn't hard, like, trophy wise, if it's not hard, then why not go for it? If I think to myself, there's no reason why I can't platinum this trophy. But then some games are just really good, and I'm like, I want to platinum this trophy. Like, I platinum Death Stranding.
Right.
I put in a lot of hours
that's an involved one.
Yeah. So how did you feel about Death Stranding as a single player game?
Loved it.
You loved it compared to like Kojima's older games?
Yes, loved it. I thought it was something. See, me, I'm a type of person where I value something being unique.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I
was
agree.
nothing like I ever played.
Right.
Cause I see Days Gone, it was cool, but at the end of the day, it's a zombie game. It's a zombie game. But Death Stranding is something completely different, never seen before. Like,
we don't get that very much anymore either.
Exactly, and that's my point. Like, post-apocalyptic is done a multitude of ways, but it's never been done the way Kojima's done it. Like, so I loved it. I loved every moment of it.
I do need to play that.
I love the bridge, baby. I mean, the BTs, like, I loved it all. Like, a game where it penalized you for killing people.
That's interesting.
Like, loved.
From what I understand, the main character is like not even very good at combat, right? Like, it's kind of hard to kill people.
No, it's not. Oh, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not hard to kill people.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Really?
but what happens is, so I mean, have you two ever played Death Stranding?
No,
No.
I plan on playing it, so I don't want any
It's on my
spoilers.
backlog pile.
Okay, well, I'll just give you like the gist. But basically, there was an event called the Death Stranding, and whatever, some post-apocalyptic event, and now you have it kind of opened up the bridge between two worlds. And so now you have these things called BTs, and they're made out of like antimatter. And so I don't know if you know anything about physics, but when antimatter and matter come together, they destroy themselves and release a lot of energy. So what happens is in the Death Stranding world, when people die, they go necrotic and they become BTs. When BTs eat live human beings, matter plus antimatter collide, and then it's a huge explosion. Like think like an atomic bomb explosion, and and that explosion is called a void out. And so in the game, void outs take out all like huge cities, so you can't kill people. When it's obviously suicide is frowned upon. When somebody dies, they have to be incinerated immediately. So they got these incinerators that are throughout the world or whatever, and you have a lot of non-lethal weapons in the game, but then you have lethal weapons that you can kill the BTs with, but you can also use it on other humans. But if you kill somebody, the person who's like your commander or whatever, he lets you know. He says, I don't know why you did it, I don't know how you did it, but now you got to get this body to the incinerator before it causes a void out. And it can cause a void out.
That's interesting.
That's cool.
And so like the point is that the Norman Reedus character, he's like, people die in that game, like real death, but his character is something called a repatriate. So he comes back to life. So when he calls the void out, he'll come back to life, but everybody else will still be dead. So.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's a good stopping point. We kind of got off topic, so I think we've run the course of this discussion about single player games. I mean, do you guys have any other points to add?
Nah, I just think I don't think single players are dying. I think people just need, especially the younger generation. I encourage y'all to just go out there and try them. Like,
I agree. Yes, there are so many good single player games out there, new and old, not just in the current generation.
Yeah, you can start with the current generation, but I recommend going back and playing some of the older games that have aged well.
Back, bait and Katos, do it.
Yeah, I would say is that it was never true to begin with. It's all propaganda.
Yeah, right, 100%. I'm not kidding. Like I totally agree with that.
I'm just laughing at that propaganda where both of y'all was like, yeah, it's propaganda.
It is, dude. It is. Come on, like it came out of EA. If Naughty Dog said that or Sony said that, that'd be different. But like it's EA, like it's in their interest for single player to be dead because they don't make single player games. So.
No, I agree with y'all. It was funny to me, but I agree. I definitely agree with y'all.
Okay, well, I'm sorry for yelling at you. I didn't mean to do that. You got me riled up. All right, you hit a button, and sometimes I get excited. So, well, okay. I think that's a good place to stop. We had a good discussion there. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like the episode, subscribe to the show, and review the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And if you could, please share it with your friends. We are looking to grow the audience. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01. The show is at the Players Take. Tiara, would you like to share your Twitter handle?
Yes. It is at Victorian Jedi phonetic. So no fancy spellings. You can do Twitter or Instagram, same thing.
Okay.
Great. Awesome. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send an email to the playerstake01@gmail.com. Next week, I don't know. We may be doing another one of these depending on how news goes. I think there may be some E3-esque streams happening, so we'll look into those, I suppose. But otherwise, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the next one. All right? Bye, guys.